Welcome to the Lights, Camera, Rant Podcast. Your source for the latest on movies, TV shows, and video games. Get ready for ranting, raving, and reviewing. Here is your host, Lee.
Hey, welcome back for another Lights, Camera, Rant video game review. Now, I know it has been a while since I've made one of these, 8 months to be exact, but hey, who's counting? Where we looked at Evil Genius and we looked at Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, a lot has happened in that period of time. I do know we've had video episodes, we have guests, we have had musical episodes. So much has happened, but that does not excuse me. So this episode will be a present of the fact that we are bringing back video game reviews now with the better accessibility with Riverside to do these video episodes, because those last two I did in January, they were just done on my iPad. That's all they were. So I wanted to make sure the fact that we will be bringing out more. Right now we have, obviously, Saints Row we're going to do right now. I hope to bring to you a 2 Point University one, and I hope to bring to you Gotham Knights, God of War, Harry Potter. That is all on the horizon. I really wish I was doing this all the way back when Arkham Knight came out, when Red Dead came out, both Red Dead 1 and 2, and as well as Cyberpunk. If you would like to see, look, I know it's been a year, but if you ever have like to see a Cyberpunk review from myself, definitely let me know in the comments, and here's on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, you know, all the socials. I'm not going down the list. If you're here right now, you know exactly that we are on every single platform for the accessibility. So you guys stay up to date. So without further ado, let's get into this review. We're at the very end of this episode. I want to make sure that you understand whether or not Saints Row 5 / the reboot is worth your time. Now, I do understand the fact that it has been nearly a month since this game has come out. So you might have already purchased already, or you're still on the fence. For anyone who's still on the fence, you've come to the right spot. And I want to make sure the fact that I keep you guys the truth about this game, because I know a lot of people, you see some reviewers, they dive straight into the positives or they dive straight into the negatives, and it's not, one or the other. Like, where's just a general, what was your take on it? What was just your review, just without any bias, being biased or anything like that? So that's what we want to do right now. So Saints Row 5 / 4. So this came out on August the 23rd. It has been 9 years since the last Saints Row, which is Saints Row 4. That came out in 2013. That's crazy to think, the fact that came out the same year as Grand Theft Auto 5. Oh my God, I can't believe that. And the Saints Row franchise has had a roller coaster of a time. Now, originally when this came out, Saints Row was meant to be the GTA killer. This was going to be the next big thing. This is what was going to overtake. And if you look back, it kind of morphed in a completely different direction, where if you start with the franchise at the very beginning, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So Saints Row first came out in 2006. There has been 5 games iterations into this franchise, and the very first 2 games did fantastically, both commercially and the reviews for it were all fantastic. I jumped on the franchise at Saints Row 2, which I loved. The big reason why I loved it was the fact you had this customization. It was, some scenes were absurd and some things were weird, but you had a customization. You were the main character, not to mention the fact that you had that cool samurai and you would do those awesome execution kills. They were really cool. And then you got Saints Row 3, which I did like, but not that memorable. And then you got Saints Row 4, which brought in superpowers. Now the thing is, superpowers I did like, especially when you went really, really fast on the Flash, and you went straight down a boardwalk, and you just took out all these people, just clotheslining all of them. So the franchise went from being a GTA killer to we're going more into the absurd scene, or that more like, this is nuts. They're more that bashing people over the head with a dildo kind of style, and that's what it morphed into. Now, the fact that when this game first got announced, I was very excited. I've enjoyed the Saints Row franchise all the way. Oh, that's right. Saints Row 4 also brought in aliens. So it wasn't monsters you were also taking care of. It was an alien invasion as well. It's so removed from the very first one. And when this first got announced, I was excited. I was like, okay, cool. They're doing a new Saints Row. So obviously this is a reboot for the next generation. This is for new fans. And when we put the first trailer, thought this was going really cool. I thought it was really going to be interesting. And I still took that excitement when I pre-ordered this game. Now, with this game, you start off in a town very similar to Las Vegas, set in Nevada, both the casino cities and the desert. And that's where it's Santo Liliusis. I probably butchered that. But you start that off, and when the story begins, you see Saints Row, the Saints, at the very top of the world. They're having a massive party, and something goes wrong in the party, and your friends start asking where you are, and then, boom, that's how the story goes back off. It starts as you go back to the very beginning, and then you retrace your steps to that very point. Now, obviously, when you start a story like that, it does give you that intrigue of what happened and who's taking it. Basically, like Cluedo, who tried it? Well, you get buried. You're buried at the very start, and you try and find out who did it, who done it, if you will. And I think that's really good. Now, it starts off with the fact that you see your character, you're the boss, with your friends, both Nina, Kevin, and Eli. They're basically a crew. They're in an apartment building, and they're living together. You start a new job off with Marshall and his team, which is essentially, how can I put this? You're basically hired enforcement security, really high-tech security. And you're trying to take down a bad guy called the Nawali. And as it turns out, you're a bit reckless because of the type of person you are. And then you do capture him, but you're too reckless and you get fired. And obviously, you guys have got student loans and rent to pay. So then it kicks off you trying to obviously get some money. And then obviously there's many fractions in this city that you do see with the different gangs and different groups. And as the story progresses, which before I go any further, spoilers alert, spoilers. As you progress, you obviously go through taking down the factions. You try and make the money. You start building the Saints. And it's just a full reboot. So it's full reboot at the very start of how the Saints come across. You obviously buy a church and you try and build. And that's how the story progresses in that. Look, I'm going to say straightforward, but I'm going to say I found it. I will admit that it was something about the fact that I was trying to get all this money, all this thing, just to pay off my rent and student loans. I get it. Like it's relatable, but at the same time, I found myself like calling back to that time of where you, the gang, you build this empire and you just want to take over the city. You want to be number one. The world's wrong. You want to be number one. Not because I have student loans, so I'm going to build a criminal empire. That's probably the part I disliked in the story as it was progressing. But that's one negative. The gameplay, as a gameplay, it is still very in touch with Saints Row 4 and the previous Saints games. The shooting mechanics are a little bit, I wouldn't say clunky. So this is the problem. If GTA 5 is the bar, the shooting mechanics and all that, this Saints Row is below that. I didn't feel like they were smooth. I found it a bit hard trying to shoot and trying to, do simple things in missions and everything. So that's the problem, is the fact, back there, Saints Row 4, you could understand because, Grand Theft Auto 5 hadn't come out, but the fact that Grand Theft Auto 5 set a bar, it set a precedence in the shooting mechanics and all the weapons and everything, and that does not come up to scratch for this game. So when you are playing the game, you will know what I mean when you're trying to shoot and you're trying to coordinate some things. It just seems a bit clunky kind of style. But when you're running, you're fine. Get in the car, you're fine. When you're driving, I do like the mode. The fact there is a button where you can do like a slamming effect on cars to get people out of the way. I did like that. And also with the gameplay is that when you do, now I really did like this. They still kept in the execution kills. So you build up this bar, this bar, and you can do an execution kill. And it's fantastic. It is one of the highlights of this game. Just the different ways he kills people. That sounds a bit morbid, but the different way you kill people. That I did love. Shooting, though, found a bit clunky trying to do it all. Driving, as I said, it's still good. However, I found myself sometimes, like, there'd be a crash. This is negative, a crash, or another car in front that would just, for some reason, just come straight up and flying in front of me, or it would just explode in front of me, and then the cars would go flying. Like, it's almost like a glitch, but at the same time, it's not. And I was like, all right, that's a bit nuts. And I don't know if that was really because of the game, or that's something worse in the game. But besides that, the gameplay is solid, but not perfect. The graphics, though, I found the graphics very pristine. The highlight that you will find with this game, even I found my takeaway, is the setting. It is the fact it's half desert and half the city. They've portrayed that very well in this city setting. That is fantastic. With the sunrise and sunset, I found myself just looking around because you can go very high, you can go very low, you can go to the tops of buildings. One cool feature is you can do a flight suit. I think that's really cool. You can just fly over the city, and it's fantastic. And you can just really see, and the graphics so far, that's fantastic. However, when you're trying to, sometimes the close quarters, it's a little bit clunky, and then when your character doesn't fully load, yes, that happens because of the fact that you have so customization. That happens as well. But that's what's more important to you, the whole landscape of the game, or the fact that your character doesn't fully load into it, which that sometimes does happen. Or I did even see my character just kind of, it was like, compared to everybody else, his clothes were still loading, or my haircut that I still picked, that was still loading. So that was a bit, that kind of took me out of the game. But another positive about the gameplay and the graphics, though, is that all the customization is still there. That is still on point. Your cars, your saints, your clothes, your eyes, your hair, that's all there. That is really good. I love that. Another thing with the gameplay is that they do bring in an empire building so you can make money, transfer you to your account. It's a very simple method, not overly convoluted like GTA. It's quite simple, but obviously to build more, you need to take out more fractions. You need to take out more competition. You have to do side missions. So you get to build like laundromats. You get to build trucks that pick up waste. You get to pick up a cleaning crew that, take out messes, if you will. But even though you do have that, you also do get some crazy ass weapons that I did like as well. One that stood out to me that I also loved was that you can get exploding football. Yes, exploding football, but it's got a rocket on it, so you can throw it to your opponent, throw it to your bad guy, sticks to them, and then they get to fly off in the air and they explode. So all the crazy weapons are still back. Some crazy vehicles. You can obviously get a hoverboard, which is fantastic. I really did like. I only used it twice though. And in these factors, as you're playing the game, for me personally, this game wasn't overly memorable for me. I played it. I liked the story, but I wasn't emotionally invested in the story. I finished the game. There is still content in the game for you to, even when you finish the story, it's not just done dusted. There is still a lot more to do in missions wise and everything to keep you going. That's a positive as well. However, this game doesn't progress. That's probably the best way I can say it. This game doesn't progress or push the envelope in any way. It is essentially just Saints Row 5 for the next gen. And they've crossed their T's, dot their I's, sprinkled some little bit of better graphics and everything. However, that's about it. Nothing I found in the game I was like, whoa, wow, that's so different. No, it still felt me to like Saints Row 4 and Saints Row 3. Like it wasn't overly like this. As sad as it's going to be, this game is going to fade away to the shadows, is going to fall into the fodder, depending on what DLC they do, which Violation, sounds like Violation, the obviously the company that created the game, they've always done DLC for the game, so there will be DLC coming forward. They definitely have left you with more to do, but the best way I can describe this to sum up my entire review for this game is the fact that if you are a franchise loyalist, you'll love it. You'll like it. You'll enjoy it. For anyone new, just jumping on the Saints Row franchise, you probably won't like it, and you probably will take you straight to GTA, right back and go more DLC. To be honest with you, it doesn't push the envelope. Like there's some crazy scenes. However, there is a mission where you're depressed and you have to go microwave a bagel. There's also a mission where multiple missions where you're playing as a role-playing person and you get a gun that's just got like not blanks, but like dummy bullets to take out the crew and everything. I found those missions incredibly boring. Oh my God. I'm like, just give me a proper gun and let's just do this old school. But this was in it. And I was like, like I'm kind of disappointed in the game. I was expecting more. I was expecting a lot more for this game, but it doesn't hit that mark for me. And to be honest with you, now that I've completed the story, I most likely will not come back to this game unless A, there's DLC, or B, I just want to jump in and play. That's the only two reasons I'll be coming back to this game and moving forward. So it's bottom line. If you're a Saints Row loyalist, you'll love it. If you're looking for something new and fresh and innovative, don't come to the party. If you're looking for something just to jump in straight away and start shooting and just some crazy mayhem kind of stuff, you're in the right place. But that's probably where I'm going to put it right now. So positives on the graphics, positive on the customization, positives on just the world, and the story is good. Negatives, same old story. The fact that, as I said, there's a couple of missions, and not to mention, you're building this entire empire just to pay for your rent and your student loans. That does not excite me. That does not excite me for the gear. Yeah, let's do this. That doesn't excite me. But guys, that is my cold hard review. Cold hard? Would you think it's cold hard? Cold hard review on Saints Row 5 / the reboot. But tell me, please, in comics, are you enjoying the game? Do you think it was fresh? Do you think it's new? Or do you think this is just done and dusted and put away? Because I could be wrong. Have a look at Cyberpunk as I'm recording this right now. That's been out for nearly 15 months right now as I'm recording this. And that's currently got more players right now than it did at launch. So I could be completely wrong. And, it might have a bigger hype and everything. But right now, it's not the game I thought it was going to be. And I've already pushed it aside. And I'm going to be moving on to my next game, which will be 2 Point University, which I do hope I'll have a review for you soon. If not, come fight me. But look, guys, thank you very much for joining with me this episode. I hope to bring you more. And until next time, happy ranting.
Thanks for listening to Lights, Camera, Rant. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a rating and review, and be sure to tell your friends. Until